Good evening, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. We are here to bring you more live coverage of the situation with Israel and Iran. The ceasefire is holding so far. There were some early issues, but right now the ceasefire is holding. The big story a lot of people talking about right now is reports about a new U.S. intelligence report which supposedly says that the Iran nuclear program was only set back by months. So a number of outlets are saying that there is a U.S. intelligence report that says that the Iran nuclear program was only set back by months. Just to clarify what the story is, the story isn't the outlets saying we think it's only been set back by months. The story is a number of different news outlets say there is a U.S. intelligence report that says the Iranian nuclear program has only been set back by months. Now, we haven't seen the report yet, so we'll see, but this is getting a lot of attention. So we're going to talk about that. We'll keep you up to date on the ceasefire. And the last drone or missile alert was 14 hours ago, by the way. This is the So Far Red Alert, TZOFR. Sorry, TZOFAR, So Far Red Alert map. They have an app too, which I use. And the last drone or missile alert was a missile alert from 14 hours ago. So nothing since then on the alert map. We'll have to see if that continues. We'll certainly let you know if there's any alerts. Okay, so we're going to talk about this news story. We're going to take your comments on the air. And I want to thank our moderators for being here. We have Ruth Krafasi and Janet B. Thank you. They are there in YouTube. Beth Mythical is moderating too. We have our Twitch moderators. If you give me a second, I'll tell you who they are. Big Ball of Yarn, Good Luck Duck, Mark HNC, moderating over there. Thank you so much. It is 12:29 a.m. Israel time. You know, Netanyahu made a statement. I don't know. I have his statement in English. I don't know if he released a speech in English. We can read his speech. Oh, the other thing I wanted to do is. All right. Over on Facebook, we have moderating. Facebook is being its usual slow self. So I need to wait on that. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha moderate for us on X. Thank you, Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha. All right, let's talk about, so we have the Tel Aviv camera there. I do have, if we need, oh, you know what I have? I actually have a Jerusalem camera. Why don't I put that on as well? Why not put it on? Hopefully we don't really need to use those cameras. Hopefully the ceasefire holds, but we'll see. I'm going to get the Jerusalem camera up on the screen as well. Let's see if this works. Boom. That seems like it's good. Are we good there? No. Well, let's try this again. Give me a second. I want to get this Jerusalem cam up. I may have to refresh something here. Oh, no, it's good. We're good. We're good to go. We're good to go. All right, Jerusalem camera coming up. I'll make that smaller now. Too big. Oopsie. There. So we'll put Jerusalem here. It's not Haifa, it's Jerusalem. Big. Here we go. Okay, we did it. We did it. A quick thanks also to YKA. Thanks for your support. Who says the ceasefire was already violated. This is a resupply break. And also thinks the attack on Iran was a waste of money that against a nation that was no threat to the mainland. That's from YKA. So there were a couple of ceasefire violations by Iran early on. Early on. I want to say well, we saw one. And then I think a few hours after they fired one missile. Then I went to sleep. So I don't know if there were any more after that. But again, there hasn't been a missile alert or a drone alert for 14 hours now. So at this point, it is holding. Maybe we could talk about the specifics of the violations in a little bit. But again, it seems like right now it's holding. Thank you, YKA. Thank you, Hadley Rodriguez. Thank you, PZ Papa Zulu. And thank you to everybody watching. All right, let's talk about this big story. There was a violation by Israel. Well, I believe Israel may have carried out some attacks in response to the missile fire after the ceasefire violation. I got to look it up. We'll get back to it. It's not the top story right now because the top story is this. I'm going to show you. Early U.S. intelligence report suggests U.S. strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by months. Now this is being reported by many outlets. And again, the story is not the outlet saying, we think this. All these different outlets are saying there is this U.S. intelligence report which says this. Before you start attacking the outlet, the outlet's not saying this is our opinion. It's saying we have heard that there is actually this intelligence report, and they're all saying the same thing. Now, what probably happened is somebody is leaking this to the outlets. That's what I'd guess. Who's leaking and why is a different question. But my guess is that it could be one person just going to all the outlets and telling them about it. Maybe, so that's how they could all get the story. Is if that's an easy way is if one person goes to all of them. All right, so let's just start with the AP, but I want to have it be clear this is not outlet specific. Okay, but just as a summary of this story that lots of outlets are reporting, early U.S. intelligence report suggests U.S. strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by months. I'll read you the AP article. There are similar articles in many publications right now. A new U.S. intelligence report found that Iran's nuclear program has been set back only a few months after a U.S. strike and was not completely and fully obliterated, as President Trump has said, according to two people familiar with the early assessment. So I take it back that it might be one person leaking because AP themselves have talked to 2 people who have told them about this. Now, just to be clear, AP knows who these people are. They're not 2 anonymous phone calls who called AP and say, "Hey, AP, trust us. You don't know me, and I'm not going to give you my name, but this is what happened." No, they know who they're talking to, but these people do not want to go on the record with their names. So at least 2 people told them about it. The intelligence report issued by the Defense Intelligence Agency on Monday contradicts statements from Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about the status of Iran's nuclear facilities. The people were not authorized to address the matter publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity. According to the people, the report found that while the Saturday strikes at the Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan nuclear sites did significant damage, they were not totally destroyed. The assessment found that at least some of Iran's highly enriched uranium was moved out of multiple sites before the U.S. strikes and survived, according to the people, and it also found that Iran's centrifuges, which are used to enrich uranium, are largely intact. Now, to clarify, I have not seen the report. It doesn't sound like AP has seen the report. They're saying that these people who would be in a position to know are saying this. Now, maybe at some point the report will be released. Although I don't know if it'll be released because it's a Defense Intelligence Agency report. But I will say this. Lawmakers were supposed to get a classified briefing today, I believe House and Senate, and then it got moved to Thursday. So I would assume, if this is true, well, whether it's true or false, I think we'll know if it's true, it'll be told, I'm sure, to lawmakers on Thursday. I would think if they're getting a classified briefing. Just so you know who the Defense Intelligence Agency is, by the way, we should mention that. Who is this Defense Intelligence Agency who supposedly made this report? Who are they? Well, I'm going to show you. This is their website. Committed to Excellence in the Defense of the Nation, an official website of the United States government. Our mission: provide intelligence on foreign militaries to prevent and decisively win wars. At DIA, which is a government agency, we provide military intelligence to warfighters, defense policymakers, and force planners in the Department of Defense and intelligence community in support of U.S. military planning and operations and weapon systems acquisition. We plan, manage, and execute intelligence operations during peacetime, crisis, and war. Mission: provide intelligence on foreign militaries to prevent and decisively win wars. So this is the Defense Intelligence Agency. They have their leadership on there. So I'm just showing you something about who they are. Okay? And just to show you something else about them, Wikipedia says the Defense Intelligence Agency is an intelligence agency and combat support agency of the U.S. Department of Defense specializing in military intelligence. That is what they do. And they are in the Department of Defense. So they're the ones who came out with this report according to these various stories. Let me get through this story, then we'll take some comments from you guys. Okay? So again, this and other reports say that an intelligence report released by the Defense Intelligence Agency yesterday, says that Iran's nuclear program has been set back only a few months after the U.S. strikes. According to the people that AP talked to, the report found that while the Saturday strikes at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan sites did significant damage, they were not totally destroyed. The assessment found that at least some of Iran's highly enriched uranium was moved out of multiple sites before the U.S. strikes and survived. According to the people, And it also found that Iran's centrifuges are largely intact. At the deeply buried Fordow uranium enrichment plant, that's the one where 12 bunker busters got dropped on it, it's the one inside the mountain, the entrance collapsed and infrastructure was damaged, so that will take time to fix. But the underground infrastructure was not destroyed, according to one of the people. The person also said that previous assessments had warned of this outcome at Fordow. The White House strongly pushed back against the assessment, calling it flat out wrong. And I will show you what the press secretary of the White House said about this. Now, she says fake news CNN strikes again, but it's not just CNN. Many outlets now have this same story, that they heard that this Defense Intelligence Agency report exists. So just to be clear, it's not just a CNN story. I'm reading you an AP article about it. But she says this alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets. Total obliteration, says Carolyn Levitt. So that's what she says, the press secretary. Let me get back to the article. Then we'll take some comments from you guys. This is the AP article about the Defense Intelligence Agency report, the alleged Defense Intelligence Agency report. Trump has said in comments and posts on social media in recent days, including Tuesday, that the strikes left the sites in Iran totally destroyed and that Iran will never rebuild its nuclear facilities. Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel said in a televised statement today that for dozens of years I promised you that Iran would not have nuclear weapons, and indeed we have brought ruin to Iran's nuclear program. He said the U.S. joining Israel was historic and thanked Trump. The CIA and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence declined to comment on the DIA assessment. ODNI coordinates the work of the nation's 18 intelligence agencies, including the DIA, which is the intelligence arm of the Defense Department. Again, the DIA, which is responsible for this alleged intelligence assessment, is the intelligence arm of the Defense Department, responsible for producing intelligence on foreign militaries and the capabilities of adversaries. The existence of this intelligence assessment was first reported by CNN on Tuesday. So again, multiple outlets say that this intelligence report exists. I mean, eventually we'll find out. If it exists, it exists. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think, I'm pretty confident we'll find out for sure very soon. All right, I want to take some comments from you guys. We'll be giving you some more updates on this. Assuming this is a classified document, I don't expect to see it anytime soon. You never know, though. Matt thinks you won't ever get the truth from the top brass. They have to keep an image, so we'll always stick to a protracted story. It's what we see in evidence that tells us the truth. The thing is, we are not really in a great position to assess this, right? For example, talking about Fordow. Fordow is in a mountain. So the photos of Fordow show some holes. I mean, I'll actually show you this photo right here. Let me just show you this. But we've talked about this. I mean, so I can't tell looking at a few holes at the top of a mountain, what damage it did underneath. That is so beyond any knowledge I have and any kind of training I have. So, you know, at a certain point, you're reliant on experts who would know about this stuff. I don't know. Let me show you this photo, though. Hold on. One moment here. Ooh. Hang on one moment here. I'll pull up this photo for you. Oh, there's so much on my desktop. I need to get some of this stuff off my desktop. Hold on. Okay. That's better. That's better. Now things are looking a little better. All right, let's look at this photo I was just going to show you. That's better. Good. We're progressing. Here it is. This is the AP photo from that article. Oops. You'll see it in a second. So we talked about this a couple days ago, but you can see there bunker buster bomb impact craters, right? On the right there. So I can't look at that and tell what the damage is underneath. You need really specialized knowledge. Even people who are specialists maybe can't tell just by looking by that. I mean, maybe you have to have, certain kinds of sensor readings at the site or other on-site information. I don't know, but so, I mean, who knows? It says gray dust from the bombings is visible. In theory, I can't slide this, but in theory, this comes from a slider where you could slide it back and forth. But it says U.S. bombs pierced through mountain ridge. Fordow nuclear site. C. Brooks says, send in special ops to verify. I wonder if that kind of thing has or will be done. Seems like an important question. Hold on. Mario Castaneda says Trump miscalculated. Well, I can't say. I mean, something else we don't know is I don't know what intelligence has been presented to President Trump. Maybe he saw this report but saw some other report and didn't buy this report. So I don't know. I don't know what he knows. There's a world in which he thought, well, maybe it's best if we don't hit it again. I mean, because there was talk of maybe the U.S. hitting it multiple times. That could still happen. Mikey says, he said, she said. Well, I do think we'll know. I think we'll know pretty soon. There's all these outlets saying this report exists. I'd be pretty surprised at this point if there was no such report. But we'll know pretty soon because members of Congress will get a hold of it. But this is a big story. I mean, and look, if it's true, if it ends up being true that the Iranian nuclear program has only been set back a few months, would the U.S. and or Israel try to carry out more attacks on the nuclear sites? Which at this point, if Israel did it, would be a violation of the ceasefire. Thanks to Hadley Rodriguez and Sega and PZ Papa Zulu and David Murphy. Don't you think Iran would have shown pictures of the inside of it if it weren't damaged? Couple things, David. I understand your question. First of all, the entrances are reportedly just buried in this place. So I don't know that anyone can get inside it right now. Second of all, I'm guessing that kind of what the places look like inside very well could be highly classified and sensitive information. So I don't know if Iran had imagery of the inside that's something they would want to share. I do understand your question, though. Honeybee thinks that Israel would not agree to a ceasefire if there were not extensive damages. I mean, it's a good question, right? But remember, with a place like Fordow, Israel did not have the munitions, the bunker buster bombs, to destroy Fordow or attempt to destroy Fordow, supposedly. I think it's pretty consensus they don't have bunker buster bombs like the U.S. does. Now, in theory, it was talked about, would they try some sort of commando operation? Would that work? Would it be risky? I don't know if they can do that now that the place has been bombed. If the entrances are blocked up, I don't know that they can do a commando operation and go in there. I don't know. I assume the commando operation would involve them putting explosives on the inside by hand. I don't know that that's an option right now. But so I understand what you're saying is, well, if it was only a few months, why did Israel agree to a ceasefire? Perfectly good question. Maybe Israel just figured out that maybe Israel figured, well, there's no more we can do about Fordow. The U.S. isn't going to do anything more about it. So this war is expensive. We've hit our main target list in Iran. We can always go back if we need to. We're running out of interceptors. So let's just do the ceasefire now and take a break. And if we have to go back, and we'll go back. And they might have had some kind of thinking like that. But if the U.S. didn't want to hit it again, I don't know that there's anything Israel could have done about it. Thank you to Sega for your support. Thank you, Russell Bach from Australia. Thanks to OU Mike. Thank you, H&W, Long Walker's Life, Jack Kelsall. Jack says The Guardian, J.D. Vance say uranium stock still okay. I read something about what J.D. Vance said. I'll have to go look it up. I mean, I would be careful. I don't know that we have a... I certainly don't know that we have... I don't think we have 100%... Everything I've read suggests that there's not 100% certainty on where the enriched uranium is. But there are a lot of experts who believe that some of it at least might be hidden. I forget what J.D. Vance said. I was reading about this yesterday. I don't want to get too off on a tangent here. J.D. Vance on ABC Hold on a second here. There's a New York Post article that said J.D. Vance told Fox News that he thought the uranium was buried. Under the facilities bombed by the U.S. I didn't see the interview, but that's what that New York Post article says. Anyways, I don't want to get too... Maybe we can go revisit. I don't want to spend a lot of time researching J.D. Vance's exact comments on this. But that is an open question right now. what it certainly is not clear. There certainly seems to be a possibility that Iran has that they have moved at least some of their enriched uranium and have it somewhere secretly keeping it. And having that enriched uranium would greatly reduce the amount of time it would take them to make a nuclear weapon if they decided to pursue it again, or decided to pursue it, whether or not they were pursuing it before, which is a debated question. Thank you to PZ Papa Zulu, and Axidi, and Granny Joe, and Kenny, and Lorenzo. Lorenzo thinks America's political class is subservient to Israeli interests. Thank you, S. Hasibi and Donna Smith. Donna, maybe we can I'll have to look that up, Donna. I'm not familiar with that report, so I'll have to look it up. Put it on my to-do list. Thank you, Donna. Alex Price, who says, if this ends up being false, name the sources. Thank you, Donna, for the gift memberships as well. Thank you, Donna. Hadley Rodriguez, thanks for the gift membership. Okay, let's talk some more about this. Wow, J9, our viewer, thinks J.D. Vance's false assumptions will come back to bite him on the butt? Don Miller says even if Iran is set back only 3 to 6 months, it gives Israel more time. Let me show you some more reporting on this. Again, there's a number of reports from different outlets reporting on this same intelligence report. Let me just check a couple things here too. Hang on a moment. Give me a second. While I check a couple things, let's look at our cameras. Susanna Branch thinks the Mossad knows where it is. This is going to be a big story in the new U.S. the next few days, though. I'm telling you. Big story. It'll get very political, too. All right, let's check another report here. Give me a moment. Ron Drake says, who is going to break the ceasefire first? Aside from some early breakings of it, we'll talk about that shortly. I want to talk about this report again, but we'll be talking more about the ceasefire too. Okay, let's talk about this story. By the way, I believe the New York Times is reporting it, CNN is reporting it, I think ABC News is reporting it, AP is reporting it, Reuters is reporting it. If I have all this right, I'll have to double check. Washington Post, you can see in front of you. These are all different outlets who, maybe they talk to the same people, reporting about the existence of this defense of this U.S. intelligence agency report. Okay, so again, here's another article. U.S. initial damage report says Iran nuclear program set back by months, not obliterated. an initial U.S. intelligence report assesses that airstrikes ordered by President Trump against Iran's nuclear facilities set Tehran's program back by months, but did not eliminate it, contradicting claims by Trump and his top aides about the mission's success, according to two people familiar with the report. Now, AP and Washington Post both cited two people. I do wonder if it's the same two people who have been going to all these outlets. Now, it very well could be two people who know about this who, well, there could be people who are the leakers and why are they leaking? I read something like a couple weeks ago that said, like, you should always ask who are the leakers and why are they leaking, which I think is a good question. But why are they leaking? Well, it could, I mean, one obvious answer is maybe it's people who don't like the Trump administration and want to embarrass them. Okay, fine. That could be the case. But maybe it's people who think the U.S. didn't finish the job. The U.S. and Israel didn't finish the job. Maybe it's someone who's really scared of Iran's nuclear capacity and thinks the U.S. should go hit it again with more bunker busters. And they think, let's get this info out there, and then there'll be public pressure to hit it again. That might not be somebody who, they might like the Trump administration. They may be Trump supporters, but maybe they think that it should be hit again. And they think that getting this information out there could increase the chances of that happening. So we don't know who these people are, but it seems pretty clear that people are leaking this stuff. I'm sure we could come up with other possible scenarios, but those are two I think about. Our viewer Doily thinks it's the first one. Maybe it's people in the intelligence community who feel like, that their assessments are not being listened to, and that this is being portrayed one way, and the intelligence community is not being listened to. And those people might not have a particular beef with Republicans or Democrats. Maybe there are people who feel like, you know what, politicians always just say what they want and they don't listen to this good information we're giving them. I don't know, Maybe another scenario, could it be people, this is kind of, I don't know if this is crazy, but could it be people who are Israeli, who maybe are involved in the Israeli government, who are really hardliners, and they think that this attack on Iran's nuclear program should continue, and they think it hasn't finished the job, and they think getting this information out there will be helpful and encouraging, and people encouraging Israel and the U.S. to finish the job. I'm guessing it's possible that people in the Israeli government know about this intelligence if it exists. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different scenarios we can imagine. I don't think any of those is wildly unrealistic. Okay, let's just go over this again, though. So, again, the Washington Post and many other outlets are reporting an initial U.S. intelligence report assesses that airstrikes ordered by President Trump against Iran's nuclear facilities set Tehran's program back by months, but did not eliminate it, contradicting claims by Trump and his top aides about the mission's success, according to two people familiar with the report. The classified report, so we ain't seeing this report. You and I aren't seeing this report. The classified report, I don't think, unless they declassified, the classified report by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is an intelligence department within the Defense Department, the intelligence arm of the U.S. Defense Department. It's based on the Pentagon's early bomb damage assessment of the strikes on the nuclear sites at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, using earth-penetrating munitions carried by B-2 bombers and Tomahawk missiles launched from submarines. The report assesses that the strikes failed to destroy the core components of Iran's nuclear program and likely set it back by only a number of months, one of the people said. The latest intelligence also indicates that Iran moved multiple batches of its highly enriched uranium out of the nuclear sites before the strikes occurred, and that the uranium stockpiles were unaffected, said the person who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive intelligence matters. I certainly could believe that Iran would do that. It certainly was no secret that the U.S. was considering attacking the Fordow site. Israel had already attacked the other two sites, but it was certainly possible they would be attacked again. So, and even before the Israeli attack started on June 13th, there was discussion that Israel could attack the nuclear program of Iran. So I certainly would not be surprised if Iran had been taking measures to hide its enriched uranium somewhere. I don't know that they did, but it wouldn't be surprising to me. Let's see here. A second person familiar with the initial Defense Intelligence Agency report, who also spoke on the condition of anonymity, said it concludes that some of Iran's centrifuges used to enrich uranium that could be used in a nuclear weapon remain intact. Trump has proclaimed recently that the U.S. bombing of Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities was an unmitigated success. The sites we hit in Iran were totally destroyed, and everyone knows it, he said Monday. As I mentioned, the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, you know what? I'm going to read you her comment again. I'll read you her comment again, her whole comment, so you can see it. Well, and she might have posted other stuff about it, but I'll show you her exact words on her X page. Now, she was responding to the initial CNN report. Many outlets have reported this, not just CNN, but she said this fake news CNN strikes again. She said, oops, hold on, I'm losing the top of her name. What am I? Something's up here. Why can you not see this? Oh, I see. Sorry about that. Hold on. Wait, one moment here. Why is this on top of this? I see what's happening. Let's do this. All right. Carolyn Leavitt says, fake news CNN strikes again. This alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still linked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets, total obliteration. She also said this CNN story was written by the same, quote, reporter who wrote the very first fake news story claiming the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation. How did that work out for you, Natasha Bertrand? And again, this has now been reported by multiple different outlets. Okay. But let me just go back to the Post story here. Then we'll take some more comments from you guys. I wanted to show you a bit more from the Washington Post story. It's only a little longer. So, the Washington Post says non-proliferation experts and weapons analysts have long said that it would be almost impossible to eliminate Iran's decade-old nuclear infrastructure by bombing alone. Again, I want to say that again. Non-proliferation experts and weapons analysts have long said that it would be almost impossible to eliminate Iran's decades-old nuclear infrastructure by bombing alone. Israel also targeted numerous parts of Iran's nuclear program, and the strikes beginning on June 13th, including Natanz and Isfahan. While the Israelis said they killed up to a dozen senior nuclear scientists during their airstrikes, Iran has spent decades researching and producing nuclear materials and has a deep bench of experts. The International Atomic Energy Agency has estimated that components of Iran's nuclear program are spread across 30 sites, some acknowledged and subject to IAEA inspection, and some not. The day before Israel's attack started, Iran announced it was building another underground centrifuge and storage facility near Natanz, buried even deeper than the Fordow site. An IAEA inspection scheduled for the next day was canceled. That site is not known to have been struck by either Israel or the U.S. I have heard a number of experts say that Iran could have other secret facilities and that are not publicly known about. As to whether Israel knows about them, I don't know. The Trump administration scheduled and then postponed Iran briefings for House members on Tuesday. Now, it's not clear. I don't know whether the postponement of these Iran briefings for members of Congress was due to the alleged existence of this defense intelligence report. It's an interesting question. I don't know if that's the reason that this briefing for Congress people was postponed today. Representative Mike Quigley, a Democrat of Illinois, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, told the Washington Post there is widespread belief in Congress that the embarrassing content of the intelligence assessment is the reason the Trump administration decided to delay the classified briefing. He said they don't delay briefings that have good news. Now, I don't know if that's true. It is something that some members of Congress believe. I can't tell you what the truth is. Quigley declined to discuss the contents of a classified briefing he received earlier this week, but he said for years he's been told by U.S. intelligence officials that any aerial attack on Iran's nuclear facilities would not have lasting impact. I've been briefed on the likelihoods of how this would play out for years, and I was always told that you have to finish the job with troops on the ground, he said. Nothing has changed my mind on that. Now, look, I will say we have discussed this during the last couple of weeks. We've discussed this several times. And something I've mentioned is just a reminder to people that this was all air power. This was all airstrikes. Now, maybe we know there was a few special operatives of Israel on the ground, and I'm guessing they had a few people here and there on the ground. But there was certainly no significantly sized ground operation. And I just from covering and reading about various military conflicts over the years, I am in no way a military expert, but something I hear over and over and over again is there are limits to what air power can do. And this sounds like a case where a number of experts believe that in a case like this, there are significant limits to what air power can do. Now, I do wonder, in the future, could we see more on-the-ground forces in Iran to deal with nuclear stuff? Israeli or American forces, don't know. I have no idea. But it is something to remember that this was all air power, airstrikes. Okay. Malik says, I don't think a ground invasion is possible. And I'm not talking about a full ground invasion, but look, there was talk that Israel would have some sort of commando on-the-ground operation to try to destroy Fordow on the ground. Now, I don't think that's going to happen now, although I don't know, given that the entrances, I believe, are filled in there. Hold on a second here. Peas and Carrots says, until they get a close look at the sites, nobody should be guessing and spreading false reports. Well, I'm assuming if this Defense Intelligence Agency report exists, that they don't feel they're just guessing. They're basing it on what information they have, and they believe, based on their specialized knowledge and past experience, that whatever information they have allows them to provide better than guess assessments. But I have not seen the report. Katie Beetzel thinks they have had people on the ground. Maybe there have been people on the ground from Israel and even the U.S. at that site. I don't know if it's a small group of people, if there's a lot they can do in terms of monitoring. It's a good question. I don't know. Could they have somebody go there with some specialized drill and drill down 300 feet and have a little camera at the end of the drill and look around? No idea. Fort N says any ground invasion in Iran is a pointless waste of time. They aren't a threat and we need to move on. No, one of the viewers said Fordow is intact. That is not what this report is reportedly saying. The report is saying there's been significant damage, but the report supposedly says that the program was sent back by months, not years, and that, for example, said that some of the infrastructure at these sites could remain intact. Peter Booth says, so do they know where the uranium is moved to? I don't know. This report supposedly assessed that at least some of the uranium had been moved. As to whether the report has anything about where it was moved to, I don't know. It says here, the intelligence also indicates, the latest intelligence indicates that Iran moved multiple batches of its highly enriched uranium out of the nuclear sites before the strikes occurred, and that the uranium stockpiles were unaffected, said a person. This, I guess the report says this. I haven't seen the report, so I don't know. But this is going to be talked about a lot. I'm going to try to show you some more commentary on this. Again, the report was written by, the alleged report was written by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the intelligence agency of the U.S. Department of Defense. Now, has President Trump posted about these stories about this report yet? I really think he will. No, I don't see anything about it. The last few hours, it's been reposts from his account. I fully expect. Now, he did say 7 hours ago. This. He said. See, where is this here? He did say 7 hours ago, both Israel and Iran wanted to stop the war equally. It was my great honor to destroy all nuclear facilities and capability and then stop the war. So he did say that. That was 7 hours ago. But I do think he's going to have comments on these stories. These particular stories that have come out in the last few hours. Nuclear options says, how do they know months and not years or weeks and not days? How do they know? My guess is that the Defense Intelligence Agency employs people who have specialized knowledge. I'm almost certain that they would employ people who know the science, who have worked in that field, who have studied that field. So so those are the kind of people who would know, based on if equipment XYZ is destroyed and equipment MNOP still exists, and other information about Iran, how many months or years, what length of time would it take? You would have to have specialized knowledge from working and studying that field, which is precisely the kind of people they would use in making an assessment like that. In the same way, if you asked me, how long would it take to build a new house? I have no idea. However, if you ask a contractor who builds new houses how long it would take to build a new house, they could tell you exactly. So it's the difference between someone with the specialized knowledge and someone without. Someone with the correct kind of knowledge can give you quite a good assessment if they have the facts, if they have the facts of the situation. Now, something we don't know about the report is, does it say, well, there's a range of possibilities? So an interesting post I just saw from Dan Lamothe, who is with the Washington Post, says a senior administration official acknowledges to me there is a DIA intelligence report that assesses that U.S. strikes on Iran may have set back its nuclear program months, not years. The assessment does come with caveats, though, including that it is low confidence in nature. So this is a senior Trump administration official who tells Dan Lamothe of the Washington Post that there is a DIA intelligence report that says the strikes on Iran may have set back its nuclear program months, not years, but it is supposedly low confidence in nature. So we haven't seen that report. Maybe the report says, look, this is our assessment based on this information, but there's all this information we don't have because we haven't been over there, and the assessment could change a lot if we got a lot more information. It might say something like that. So and I think that's a helpful thing to keep in mind. I think rather than assume this report has all the information out there and definitively says it's only been reduced by months, it doesn't sound like that's the case. It seems like it's more of the kind of thing of raising the possibility based on what is known so far. Johnny Tabasco, our viewer, says, we will see round 2 of the war. It's a matter of when, not if. Smoke says, we need to know why it would be low confidence. I mean, one reason I could think of is just that I'm guessing there is very limited access to that site right now. I'm guessing if the site were just full, if the site were in the U.S. or Israel, you would have all kinds of personnel and machinery there doing all kinds of research on it. But I'm guessing that the access might be limited there. Retired Good Time says, how many times have they dropped these bombs on these things? Who is the expert on that? This is the first time these bombs were used in combat, and that could be a source of further uncertainty. I don't know. The phrase low confidence, I'm sure, has a very specific meaning. Again, according to Dan Lamothe with the Washington Post, a senior administration official acknowledged that there is a DIA intelligence report that assesses the U.S. strikes on Iran may have set back its nuclear program months, not years, but the assessment is supposedly low confidence in nature. There may be something in the report itself. Maybe those kind of reports usually have a confidence assessment in it based on how much information they have versus what kind of information they don't yet have. So I don't know the special way that terminology is used in the intelligence community. I assume it means something like there is significant information that they don't have at the moment that could change the assessment. F. Sartori says, nuclear option says nobody but Iran is there, so it's literally impossible to know. Not some unnamed sources. Well, a couple things. First of all, I don't know that, I don't know if Israel has special forces on the ground, for example, that are in the area. I don't know. Also, though, there may be, maybe you can, if you have the right kind of knowledge between satellite photography, maybe there's other kind of sensor readings they can use. Maybe you can tell a lot. I don't know. I just, that's not my field. I can't tell, but I'm not a specialist in that field. Okay, let me read you a report from Jennifer Griffin of Fox News. Jennifer Griffin of Fox News reports that well-placed sources who have seen the classified DIA assessment, the bomb damage assessment, according to these sources, DIA assesses, which is Defense Intelligence Agency, they assess that the Iran nuclear program could be back online in a matter of months, from 1 to 2 months on the low end to less than a year on the high end. This is a preliminary intelligence assessment and is deemed low confidence in intelligence parlance. She says, this is Jennifer Griffin of Fox News, that this is the assessment is based on satellite images and signals intelligence obtained since the strikes. Signals intelligence is intercepted communications. The focus of the report is the bomb damage assessment at Fordow. According to her sources, the bunker buster bombs were able to cave the entrances to the facility. The entrances are caved in. Some infrastructure was destroyed, but the overall operations at Fordow were not destroyed, and they could be dug out and rebuilt, and the power could be repaired to the facility that powered the centrifuges. According to the preliminary intelligence assessment she is hearing, an unknown amount of the highly enriched 60% enriched uranium was moved out of the Fordow facility. One possibility, according to the intelligence assessment, is that it was moved to a third site that the Iranians told the IAEA about ahead of the strikes, a secret site. So again, that is for Jennifer Griffin of Fox News. She said she has talked to well-placed sources who say this Defense Intelligence Agency report exists. They say it calls itself low confidence. The assessment is that the Iran nuclear program could be back online in a matter of months, from 1 to 2 months on the low end to less than a year on the high end. It's based on satellite images and signals, intercepted communications, signals intelligence. And the entrances to Fordow are caved in. Some infrastructure is destroyed, but the overall operations were not destroyed, and they could, in theory, be dug out and rebuilt. And at least some highly enriched uranium was moved out of the Fordow facility beforehand. That is what Jennifer Griffin of Fox News is reporting. But again, this is not her view. She has talked to people who say, we have seen this Defense Intelligence Agency report. So she is reporting this is what the Defense Intelligence Agency said. Just like the other reports are reporting. They're saying this is what the DIA report said. Winding Road thinks Trump will not like that report. RBN thinks they probably know where the uranium went. Now, if Iran were to try to dig up Fordow, I would assume that the U.S. could hit it again, right? So let's be clear on this. I would assume that digging up Fordow would be a major project. And if the U.S. wants to at this point, I assume nothing is really stopping them practically. I don't know about politically, but in terms of air defense, I would assume it would be pretty straightforward to do it again. I don't know that that's going to happen, but there is a question of whether they could hit it again. Then you would wonder, if they hit it again, does it do any more damage than the first time? That's another question. Granny Yaya says the place where the bombs hit would be very unstable. If they dig, they could cause a cave-in. Certainly, I don't have specialized knowledge. I can understand that happening. I will say, though, that that facility was built in a mountain specifically to make it hard to attack it. So my guess is that this is a situation that Iran planned for. I mean, they literally built it in a mountain. So I don't know what their plan is. Maybe there are measures they have taken to try to make it easier if they had to dig it out to do so. I don't know. But this is certainly a scenario they would have thought of, because they literally built it in a mountain. That's an interesting report from Fox's Jennifer Griffin, though. Lori Murphy, our viewer, thinks the U.S. and Israel know where the uranium is. Now, Dr. Jeffrey Lewis, who is a nuclear weapons expert I follow, he said today, even if the U.S. had destroyed Fordow, Iran retained a number of other underground facilities that were never bombed. That is an important question. Do they have other facilities they can use? I was reading a report today that said they might have smaller enrichment facilities. Where was that? Was that in the Times? I read it somewhere. Yes, the Times said, the New York Times said they talked to Israeli officials who believed that Iran had small covert enrichment facilities so it could continue its nuclear program in the event of an attack on the larger facilities, which is interesting. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it's crazy to think that Iran planned for an attack on its nuclear facilities. Such an attack on its nuclear facilities has been threatened for decades. By the way, thank you to the Karzar for your support. The Karzar says satellite imagery shows the entire top of the mountain is gone. Anyone reporting any different is simply disingenuous and desperate with an agenda. I mean, I can show you the photo. We have it right here. I can show you the photo of the top of Fordow. It's right here. This is the satellite shot of the top of the, this is the Reuters article on the same story. We'll check that out in a second. But this is the satellite photo. The Maxar satellite photo from the article. So you see, there's the mountain. There's some sort of debris or dust, that white dust or debris or whatever it is on the top. Then there are the holes in the top of the mountain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, that's what it looks like. That's it. That's what it looks like basically now. Thank you to Florian Meyer, who says, why no reports about assessment and elimination of radioactive contamination if thousands of centrifuges are blown up? Iran will take care of on its own anyway. The IAEA has been continuously putting out reports about contamination. So the centrifuges are the equipment that is used to help enrich the uranium. But I believe, I mean, the centrifuges themselves would not be made of radioactive material. The question, I believe, is, in terms of pollution, a big question is, what radioactive material is there? But the IAEA, I'll check their latest report on possible contamination at any of these sites. But they've been giving these updates, and they have not said that there is any kind of significant off-site spread of radiation at any of these sites. I'll read you the new one from today, actually. Let's see. Based on the data, this is from today, June 24th, IAEA. Based on the data available to us, the IAEA can provide assurances that there has been no radiological impact to the population and the environment in neighboring countries. Crucially, in terms of nuclear safety, Iran's research and power reactors were not targeted. And they talk about the specifics at the sites here. During these attacks, we have seen extensive damage at several nuclear sites in Iran, including its uranium conversion and enrichment facilities. Our assessment is that there has been some localized radioactive as well as chemical release inside the affected facilities that contain nuclear material, mainly uranium enriched to varying degrees, but there has been no report of increased off-site radiation levels. So that's their latest assessment from today. Now, I am not a nuclear science specialist and nuclear pollution specialist, so I can't tell you how they come to that assessment, but this is what they specialize in. Thank you for bringing that up, Florian, and thanks for your support, Florian Meyer and the Car Czar. Also, Tina Kianza Jigar, thank you. Tina thinks they will be going full steam with their stockpiles and trying to get a bomb. So, one concern many have had about the attack on the Iranian nuclear program is that it could motivate them to move as fast as possible in secret to get a bomb. Doesn't mean they will. Also, I don't know if what can be done in secret, and if they did that right now, given all of the in the air observation by Israel going on in the country right now, would they be putting themselves at risk? I don't know, but that is a concern. That has been a concern of launching an attack on them. That it could provide motivation to not just speed toward a bomb. There's debate on whether they were moving towards a bomb before, but not just speed toward a bomb, but do it completely in secret without allowing. They have been allowing IAEA inspectors into the country without allowing any inspectors into the country. And there's a school of thought that says something like, well, they were certainly doing things that would be useful to get a bomb. But what they really wanted to do, this school of thought says, is to be close enough to be able to use it as a bargaining chip. And if you're always close to it, you can do things like get sanctions relief, make an agreement saying, all right, we won't make it, but give us sanctions relief. And in that world, they're not really focused on making a bomb. They're focused on making everybody scared they're going to make a bomb to get benefits out of that. But if that were the case, perhaps an attack like this changes their mind. They're like, no, we really need to get the bomb now. Now, I'm not telling you that's what happened, but there is a school of thought that there's a danger of attacking them, which is that you actually motivate them to actually want to build the bomb as fast as possible and do it in secret. Thank you, the Car Czar. The Car Czar believes the top of the mountain is completely missing. All I can say, the Car Czar, is I have not seen that assessment elsewhere. If that's your view, that's fine. All I can say about it is I have not seen that assessment. The assessment I have seen is that there is a coating of some sort of dust or debris on the top of the mountain. That's what I have seen. But again, I don't want to have an argument with you. I'm just telling you that's what I have seen. Thank you, the Car Czar, by the way. I appreciate your support. Thank you also, XCD. Thank you, XCD, who's saying if the site was destroyed and there is probably nothing there to bomb. Well, I guess if it turned out that some of the site was still intact and further bombing could damage it, I do think perhaps further bombing could be considered. But I don't know the current state of things, and also I don't know if further bombing would be considered. Thank you also to Sushi Jezebel, Mike King, Nino NPC 2023, Successive Nows. We might look at the UN Security Council meeting, some of it today, Successive Nows. There was a UN Security Council meeting on the Iranian nuclear program. Now, as far as I'm aware, that Security Council meeting would just be the different countries talking. But maybe I'm wrong. But my experience with UN Security Council meetings is you have different countries talking. It's not like, let's listen to this independent board of experts. So different countries will give their views on what they think the truth is and what should be done about it. But maybe we'll check out some of that in a bit. We got on the air after it happened. So thank you. I appreciate the suggestion, Successive Nows. Hold on, I'm behind on thanking people. Also, Chris D, thank you for your support. Babinski UT, thank you. Bubinski says that if the report doesn't come out, perhaps a test about whether the assessment is accurate, the DIA assessment is accurate, is whether we hear chatter about another attack on the nuclear facilities. It'll be interesting to see if we hear any chatter about that. I agree. Thank you, Cal Reeves, for your support. I do not know Cal. Cal Reeves brings up the possibility that the people who leaked the information to media about the existence of this intelligence report may have been breaking the law. It's certainly possible. I am not a legal expert. They chose to do it, so maybe they must be comfortable with their decision if they chose to do it. But I am not an expert on that whole field. All right, I want to get to some more updates here. Thanks to Actually Dan, ESP La Copa, Carol Cara, Ed Weeby, Chris, Rando, the Antique Action Figure, who thinks Mossad has been there to inspect the holes after the bombing. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, PZ Papa Zulu. And Mike J, OU Mike, Brad Dubuque, Lorenzo. Sean thinks the ceasefire is happening because Israel is running out of identified targets, Israel's running out of interceptors, and Iran retaliated and can save face domestically. Thank you, Trade Talk Farsi. Trade Talk Farsi thinks that Israelis are pushing this news about this intelligence report because they are looking for an excuse to return and do more in their attack on the Iranian nuclear program. Thank you, Ranger Amir, and TMS, and Gary Fry, and Usagi Akimbo, and Robert Gardner, and Kenny, and Granny Joe, and S. Hasibi. All right. We haven't even talked about the ceasefire yet. We got to talk about the ceasefire some. I know this is big news, this story about the DIA assessment. We're going to keep talking about this. But we got to talk about the ceasefire some. Thanks to Daredevil 2300 on Twitch for your support. I appreciate it. Bot King Sentient, thank you for the gift subs. Bot King Sentient, thank you. Thank you also to Jules Raider, who subscribed, and Dark Crypto, and Sidolphus on Twitch. Thank you. All right, let me check a couple things here. Oh, I don't have the rights to these photos yet. There are some new photos that shows some additional damage at Fordow, because Israel went to Fordow, I think the day after the U.S. bombed it. Israel said what did Israel say? Something like they had damaged the access roads. They didn't want people accessing it. So I'm going to post a link in the chat. There's some new satellite photos, which I don't have access to yet to show. But Shayan Sardarizadeh of BBC says these news photos show signs of damage caused by Israel. The day after the U.S. bombed the facility, there are new craters at tunnel openings and buildings have been destroyed. Oh, the white building is the white building damaged? All right. I just posted a link in the chat, and I posted it on my X account. Some buildings at the complex look like they have been destroyed by Israel. Anyways, go look at it on the link I just posted or on my X account @Lookner. If I get the photos that I can show you, I'll put them up on the screen. Oh, the Secretary of Defense has put out a statement addressing the reporting. I just saw. Hold on a moment. Addressing the reporting. Konstantin Toropin, who is with military.com, reports that Secretary of Defense Hegseth has put out a rare statement about the reports saying there is a Defense Intelligence Agency intelligence report that says that the bombing, the U.S. bombing, U.S. and Iran's attack on the nuclear facilities may have only set the nuclear program back in Iran by months. Secretary Hegseth says in the statement, based on everything we've seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Our massive bombs hit exactly the right spot at each target and worked perfectly. The impact of those bombs is buried under a mountain of rubble in Iran, so anyone who says the bombs were not devastating is just trying to undermine the president and the successful mission. That is a new statement via Konstantin Toropin from Secretary of Defense Hegseth. All right, give me a moment here. Manny Fabian of Times of Israel reports that 2 drones from Iran were intercepted by the Israeli Air Force earlier this evening. So that would technically be a violation of the ceasefire. I'm assuming. Sounds like that is a violation of the ceasefire. He says, according to the IDF says the drones were shot down outside of Israel's borders. Maybe the IDF put out a statement on this. The IDF estimates the drones were launched in the morning hours at the same time as the missile barrages. Drones take several hours to reach Israel from Iran. So I don't know about the timing. I guess maybe in theory they could have been launched right before the ceasefire. But if you launched them right before the ceasefire took effect, you would know the ceasefire was taking effect. So you'd know that they'd be getting there after the ceasefire took effect. Oh, I have it. I have the announcement right here. The IDF says earlier this evening, 2 drones that were approaching Israeli territory, most likely from Iran, were intercepted by the Israeli Air Force. These interceptions occurred outside of Israeli territory. Sirens were sounded in open areas in accordance with protocol. So that was a couple hours ago. They came out with that statement 2.5 hours ago. I'm just making sure I don't have, there's not any like super breaking things right now. Hang on a moment here. I want to shout out our moderators too. Where is this thing here? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 sec. Glenn Smith, our viewer from New Zealand, sent me I believe there's an account online called the Intel Lab that had created what they said was a map showing the layout of the Fordow site. I don't know if it's accurate. I mean, it very well might be. I would direct you to them. And I believe that there was I think there had been some estimates based on their map of where the bombs were. I think I posted something about this. I think someone posted the Intel Labs supposed underground map of Fordow and said that they thought that if you assume it's accurate, that the bunker busters were targeting the underground enrichment main hall. But I don't know about this. What I'm trying to do right now is just find my post about it, find the repost about it, and then I can throw it in the chat and you guys can look at it. I don't have the rights to show their thing, so I'd rather just have you guys look at it. I don't know if I can find it quickly though, so I'm taking 2 seconds to try to find this. Oh, I found it. Oh, this one is by Open Source Center. Anyways, I'm going to post a link in the chat if you want to look at it. And they say they created an underground map of the facility at Fordow, and they think that the bunker busters targeted the Cascade Hall underneath the facility. So in the Cascade Hall of the facility underneath the mountain. I just posted it in the chat. You can check it out, Open Source Center. So thanks to Glenn Smith for writing in. Eric Anderson asked about the NYC mayor race. I'm not doing a full stream on that tonight. Well, for two reasons. First of all, we're covering this. Second of all, as I understand it, it's the Democratic primary for mayor, but it may actually take days and days. It's not expected we'll have a winner tonight, because from what I understand, it's not expected that somebody will get 50%, and then after that they have to go to ranked choice voting, and that'll be days from now. I think maybe July when that's determined. So I might post an update about it, but I'm not planning on doing a whole stream about it. I apologize if you were hoping we would, but if I get an update, I think the polls don't even close till 9. So I won't even have any information on that to tell you. If we're on after 9, I'll give you an update if I hear anything. But thank you, Eric, for asking about it. And I appreciate your support, Eric Anderson, too. Hey, shout out to our moderators, Beth Mythical, Ruth Krafasi, Janet B. over there on YouTube. Very much appreciate it. Also on Twitch, we have Big Ball of Yarn, Cerrero, Good Luck Duck, Mark NC, Matthew Kohai, McBridges. Thank you. And we have Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X, and we have Ava Knight moderating on Facebook. Margaret Riley, thank you. Charlotte Webb, thank you. Thank you to all of our moderators. Uh, 50 Shades of Mahomes points out that President Trump seemed upset when he spoke to the press today about the ceasefire being at least initially broken, although it seems to be holding right now. I may have that clip. Let me see if I have it and I can download it and show it to you. If you give me a second. One moment. That would have been today. That would have been earlier. It would have been in Washington. I don't know if I have it. I'll take 2 more seconds and look. Oh, here it is. Is this it? Departs the White House? I got it. I got the Trump comments today. I'm going to play this for you. We have comments from President Trump today before, as he was leaving the White House this morning. So I'm going to show you these to you in a second. Thanks for mentioning it. Give me about a minute and I'll have it for you. Hey, a couple other thank yous here. Thanks so much to Dimi Dumangji for your support. Macro Geek for the gift memberships. Ed Weeby for the gift memberships. Tim Bowman, who thinks it seems like people are desperate to find any sign that Trump wasn't successful. Thank you, Tim. Thank you again, Eric Anderson. Thank you to Susie Irish, who thinks President Trump missed a golden opportunity to negotiate the hostage release. Well, technically speaking, Hamas is holding the hostages, not Iran. So, I mean, it's not Iran. You might argue, well, maybe Iran could put pressure on Hamas. My understanding is that the people on the ground in Hamas, it's ultimately their choice whether to release the hostages. Now, who knows? Maybe this has been discussed behind the scenes, though. I don't know. Thank you so much to Susie Irish. Nino NPC, thank you. Who thinks if the bombing of the nuclear sites was not successful, would they admit it to the American people, considering billions was invested? Thank you, Nino NPC 2023. Thanks, Oconee Camp Gold Mine for the gift memberships. Thanks, Truffles Travels. And Chris Lee. And XCD. And ESPY La Copa, who says maybe they kept the enriched uranium in the mountain to protect citizens from radiation in case it was to be blown up by Trump or Netanyahu. So I will say this. I don't know how much risk would be. The amount of enriched uranium, that highly enriched uranium, is relatively, it's what I read, it's something like it would fit in like a few dozen canisters. I don't know how much damage that would cause if that was blown up. But I've regularly seen the estimates of what would be the most risky site. What site would be the most damaging to attack? And again, I've seen the assessment that the most potentially environmentally damaging site to attack would be the Bushehr nuclear power plant, because that is the one nuclear power plant that is operating in Iran. And that supposedly could be devastating. I don't know what the environmental impact would be of bombing a site with the enriched uranium of the amount we're talking about, the highly enriched uranium. But I have not seen concerns expressed about that the same way I saw concerns expressed about Bushehr nuclear power plant. It's an interesting question. If I get more on it, I'll let you know. My guess is, though, that Iran's priority is to, their number one priority, I would guess, with the enriched uranium, is to hold on to it and keep it from getting destroyed. So my guess is that they've done whatever they had to do in their minds to give it the best chance that they would hold on to it, because it's very important to them. I saw a nuclear expert today say, I forget who it was in a video, and he said, I think he was being interviewed by Dmitry Alperovitch, and he said that the big work is enriching it from 0 to 5%. That's the hardest part, is enriching it from 0 to 5%. Thank you, actually, Dan. Thank you, Ed Weeby. We're going to watch some of Trump from this morning. Thank you, Chris. Chris thinks no one can know if Iran is serious about wanting peace. Chris thinks Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis must all agree to peace terms. Well, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis basically didn't get involved in the last 2 weeks. I'll say that. Thank you. And thank you, Rando. And thank you, XCD. Okay, let's go. Let's look at Trump from this morning. Let's look at Trump from this morning. I'm going to play it right now. I haven't seen this myself. We were up late, so I was sleeping when this happened. Hold on. Hold on a moment. Here it is. So I'm watching this for the first. Well, I've seen part of it, But the rest of it I'm watching for the first time. All right, I'm going to get this going right now. Let's listen. This was this morning, earlier today, to President Trump. I think he might have said a naughty word here, if this is the right clip, but it might be the wrong clip. But naughty word alert. What am I doing here? Oh, I see. Naughty word alert. Let's see if this works.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. All I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Are you going to see the agreement? It's a new dawn in the Middle East. Thanks to the agreement you managed to achieve. What are your future plans for the region, for Saudi Arabia, Israel, Gaza, the hostages?
Look, you're asking me about women in the Middle East. It's getting a lot better. Things are happening at a high level. As you know, Saudi Arabia's done a really good job. It's coming out far faster than I thought. So we're very happy about what's happening with women in the Middle East.
No, I'm talking about a new dawn in the Middle East that you managed to achieve last night.
Yeah.
The region is going to a new place with this agreement. Can you tell us what's your future plans for Gaza, for the hostages?
Yeah. It's a new dawn. I appreciate the question. You're very nice. Who are you?
Thank you. I'm Neria Kraus from Israeli Channel 13 News.
Well, we have to have Israel calm down because they went on a mission this morning. I got to get Israel to calm down now.
Did you get to speak with Prime Minister? Did you talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu last night?
I speak to everybody.
You urge both sides not to violate the ceasefire, but reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Have you spoken to him this morning? How confident are you that
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
Do you believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon. and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement, the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
There you go. There you go. Okay. That was the president. I gave you the naughty word alert. Maybe we can watch it taking off. Can we watch it taking off? Well, here it is. Here's the helicopter leaving. Just for the fun of it. All right, so that was the clip. AFP video clip from earlier today. Sorry about the naughty word, but I warned you. All right. Let's go back. Let's go back to there. So President Trump was not happy with both countries. He was not happy with both countries for violating the ceasefire. He was also not happy with Israel. He said that they launched a lot of attacks on Iran after the ceasefire deal was announced, but before it took effect. Shout out, by the way, to Todd Denninger. Hey, thanks, Todd, for your support. I really appreciate it. Todd Denninger. Shout out to Big Dog Gaming on Twitch. Gripplechew on Twitch. Thank you. Daredevil 2300 on Twitch. Thanks for your support. Thanks, Rita Evans Lang, for subscribing over there on Facebook. And Shannon Davis Hughes. Also, thanks for the Facebook stars. Lisa Perkins. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you to Slowbird. But Slowbird broke the rules, so Slowbird's getting timed out. Thank you also, Stevie Yagi. Thank you to Sharper Images. Ed Weeby, Serena. I have nothing new about the son of the Shah of Iran. Is it Reza Pahlavi? Am I getting that right? We showed a press conference he had where he said he wants to help transition Iran to a democracy. He is not in Iran right now. Whether there's some sort of organized opposition movement within Iran that emerges, whether they adopt him or somebody else as their figurehead, as a figurehead, I do not know. So if I hear big news on Iranian opposition stuff, I will certainly let you know. Thank you, Serena. But I mean, I don't have any updates on any kind of big opposition movement happening right now in Iran, organized. Maybe there is and we don't know about it. So if I hear anything, I'll let you know. Thanks, Diver Patty. Demi Dumanji, thank you. And also, hey, that's really nice of you, Mandy. Mandy, that's so kind of you. Thanks for your support. And Sure, our new member, thank you, Sure. Hey, hold on one sec here. I'd like to get you a little summary of what happened with the ceasefire. Ooh, maybe I have it right here. Fragile ceasefire appears to hold between Iran and Israel as Trump vents frustration with both sides. We just heard that. AP says a fragile ceasefire between between Iran and Israel appeared to hold today after initially faltering, as President Trump expressed frustration with both sides, saying they had fought for so hard and so long that they didn't know what the blank they are doing. After the truce was supposed to take effect, Israel accused Iran of launching missiles into its airspace, and the Israeli finance minister vowed that Tehran will tremble. The Iranian military denied firing on Israel, but explosions boomed and sounded from across northern Israel in the morning, and an Israeli military official said 2 Iranian missiles were intercepted, which certainly seemed like a ceasefire violation. Trump told reporters at the White House before departing, we already read that about what Trump said. Trump said that both sides had violated the ceasefire. He had particularly strong words for Israel, a close ally, while suggesting Iran might have fired on Israel by mistake. But later he said the deal was saved. He said on Truth Social, Israel is not going to attack Iran. So did Israel never respond to the rockets, to the missiles this morning? The missile or missiles after the ceasefire, the day not actually, I was asleep. He said, Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. I guess maybe they didn't. Now, race car Russ said they bombed a radar. This was when I was asleep. They hit a radar, people are saying. Again, this was when I was asleep. I'd slept like 2 hours the night before, so I had to sleep. So I wasn't all caught up on that. Let me get you something about that. See, this is what he had been saying earlier. This is what he was saying earlier. This was this morning U.S. time. This is right after I went to bed, I think. This is when Israel was talking about making some big military response after Iran had launched at least one missile at Israel. And this was, I believe it was several hours after the ceasefire had started. So he said, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Then he posted, Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And he also said Iran will never rebuild their nuclear facilities. The video on his True Social, I don't know where that video came from, so I can't play it. It's a video of B-2 bombers flying. I don't have access. I'm not sure if it might be a private video or something. So you can go to his True Social and watch it. B-2 bombers flying, and I think it's B-2 bombers. I think flying and dropping bombs. Yes, Israel said it hit a radar. Okay. This is what happened. Here, let me show you this. Let me show you this about what happened this morning with the ceasefire. Hold on. Hang on a moment. I will show you now. Israel says it hit Iranian radar but refrained from other strikes after Trump call. Reuters says Israel acknowledged striking a radar installation near Tehran hours after the start of a ceasefire on Tuesday in retaliation for Iranian missile launches, but said it had refrained from further attacks beyond that after U.S. President Trump spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The Prime Minister's office acknowledged the strike in a statement after Trump publicly expressed frustration that Israel had launched strikes on Iran after the ceasefire agreement was reached but before it took effect. Trump also criticized Israel's plans to respond militarily to the alleged Iranian violation of the ceasefire. Iran rejected accusations that it breached the ceasefire, which was meant to start at 7 a.m. Israeli time, and instead said that Israel had continued its attacks on Iran for an hour and a half after the ceasefire came into effect. Netanyahu's office said Israel had carried out a strike in Tehran targeting Iranian security forces at 3 a.m. local time, 4 hours before the ceasefire. Trump said he did not like the fact that Israel had unloaded right after reaching the ceasefire. Israel accused Iran of launching a single missile 6 minutes after the ceasefire went into effect and firing another 2 missiles around 3.5 hours later. Yes, exactly. So we were on the air for the first one. So it appeared that Iran fired a missile 6 minutes after the ceasefire went into effect, and then another 2 missiles around 3.5 hours later. Those missiles were either intercepted or fell in open areas without causing damage or casualties. In retaliation, the Israeli Air Force destroyed the radar installation near Tehran. They refrained from carrying out other strikes on Iran after a conversation between Trump and Netanyahu, Netanyahu's office said. So there's a little summary of the apparent ceasefire violations. But it's been holding since then. Beam Me Up says Iran denies the one 3.5 hours later. Michelle Edwards says it's like siblings fighting. Told Dad they were going to make up. Dad goes to work, then they started up again. Dad's pissed and on his way home from work, kiddos. I am not aware of any current alerts. No alerts that I am aware of. Oh, I just saw a report. Hold on a second here. A couple people have said they're having issues with the video. I am watching the stream here. It is totally fine on my end. I'm literally watching it on YouTube. I'm sorry if you're having issues with the video. I would suggest maybe refreshing the stream. Most people... Oh, are you saying the Tel Aviv? Oh, the Tel Aviv cam. Is it this video? I see the Tel Aviv cam. So they probably restarted the Tel Aviv cam. That's probably what happened. That's what it was. That's what it was. I thought you meant the stream. The Tel Aviv cam, what probably happened is that they periodically restart the Tel Aviv cam, so I need to restart it. There it is. Thanks for letting me know. I thought you meant this stream, because I'm looking at this stream. The stream was fine. Yeah, so once in a while, the camera it's a new camera feed, so I have to refresh my feed. So now it's fine. There you go. It's now live. If you're having a problem with this stream, I don't think it's on my personal end because I'm seeing it fine. And I'm not seeing a lot of other people having problems. So I would try refreshing. I'm sorry if that's happening. Yeah, if that happens again with with one of the cameras, just keep putting it in the chat, because if I'm doing the stream, I sometimes just don't, especially when it's dark. It's hard to notice that it's doing that. But usually it happens like once every few hours. They refresh their camera. But it's fine now. All right, hang on a moment. We're going to give you some more updates. Oh, in addition to the stuff we just talked about, Israel said that they shot down a couple drones that had been sent from Iran. No, well, they said, did they even say from Iran? They said, the IDF said that they shot down earlier this evening 2 drones, most likely from Iran. Whether they were sent before or after the ceasefire start, I don't know. They got there after the ceasefire started. I want to talk some more about the questions about the damage to the nuclear program. For those who are not up to date on that. Okay, we haven't looked at this article yet. Let's talk about this one. So, in case you haven't heard, multiple outlets, many news outlets, CNN, Jennifer Griffin from Fox News, The Washington Post, New York Times, there's many, say that there is this Defense Intelligence Agency intelligence report, which has been released. It's a classified report, but released by the intelligence arm of the Defense Department, that says possibly the U.S. strikes only set Iran's nuclear program back a few months. So, wanted to talk about this. You can see here, U.S. strikes failed to destroy Iran's nuclear sites, intelligence report says. This is a Reuters article, but it's going to be basically the same idea, that there is this intelligence report that exists. U.S. airstrikes did not destroy Iran's nuclear capability and only set it back by a few months, according to a preliminary U.S. intelligence assessment, as a shaky ceasefire took hold. Says Reuters. Trump said over the weekend that the U.S. deployment of 30,000-pound bombs had obliterated Iran's nuclear program, but that claim appeared to be contradicted by an initial assessment by one of his administration's intelligence agencies, according to 3 people familiar with the matter. So they talked to 3 different people who knew about this. One of the sources said Iran's enriched uranium stocks had not been eliminated, and the country's nuclear program, much of which is buried deep underground, may have been set back only a month or 2. Iran says its nuclear research is for civilian energy production. The White House said the intelligence assessment was flat out wrong. According to the report, which was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the strikes sealed off the entrances to the 2 of the facilities, but did not collapse underground buildings, said one of the people familiar with its findings. Some centrifuges still remained intact after the attacks, the Washington Post said, citing an unnamed person familiar with the report. So there's this question out there of how much did these attacks set back the nuclear program in Iran. I did mention to you before that Fox News' Jennifer Griffin, she's with Fox News, she said that she had talked to sources who have seen this Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, and they told her that the DIA assesses that the nuclear program of Iran could be back online in a matter of months, anywhere from 1 to 2 months on the low end, from less than a year on the high end. This is only a preliminary intelligence assessment deemed low confidence in intelligence parlance, she says. She says it's based on satellite and also signals intelligence, where you intercept communications. It focuses on Fordow, the report, and she says the sources told her the entrances to Fordow are caved in, and some infrastructure at Fordow is destroyed, but the overall operations were not destroyed, and they could be dug out and rebuilt or repaired. And also, the report reportedly said that an unknown amount of the highly enriched uranium Iran has was moved out of Fordow facility. And it's possible that it was moved to a secret site that Iran has. So now she knows who these sources are. She's not picking up the phone. I think sometimes there's this picture of anonymous sources as the reporter gets a call and she picks it up and it's like, hello, I can't tell you my name, but boy, do I have a scoop for you. Hey, guess what? There's this intelligence report, and it says that Iran could have its nuclear program back in 3 months. Okay, bye, click. No, that's not what happens. They know exactly who they're talking to. They know their names, but the person just says, I can't go on the record about this. So they're only going to post this stuff if they know who the people are and feel confident that the people are in a position to know what they're talking about. Kathy Cleary, our viewer, thinks this isn't over. You watch and see. Yes, as Pebble Girl says, they have contacts. Thank you, the Robin's Nest Autosport. Given all of the different reports that this Defense Intelligence Agency report actually exists, I'm pretty confident it does exist. I would be shocked to find out at this point that all of these people are saying there is this governmental intelligence report that exists, and all of these various reporters who know these people and work in this field and know the Defense Department are confident enough to report on it, and that you'd find out it doesn't exist. That would be utterly shocking. So I'm pretty darn sure at this point that it exists. I haven't seen it yet. I can't speak to exactly what's in it. Maybe there are multiple intelligence reports from different agencies that say different things. But I'd be pretty shocked at this point if it didn't exist. Artist Caverlin says, does it really matter? Well, I mean, here's one reason why it might really matter. If you think that this attack, that the message the Iranian regime will take away from this is, wow, we really do need a nuclear bomb. We got to rush to get it. Then you might think, wow, if they still have a bunch of capability left, they might be able to have a bomb in a few months, which, and maybe they didn't before, but now they're going to rush to do it in secret. So that could create an urgent situation if you thought they didn't have it before, but now they had more motivation and they still had some capacity to do it. And they were going to do it now all in secret and have no inspectors. That would be, if you're, which I know Israel and Iran and the U.S. are very concerned about them having a bomb, you know, it would be quite important to the prospects of them doing it, what kind of capacity they are left with. Carolette says, I'd like to know how they built it under a solid rock mountain. That's a whole other interesting question. Yes, as I mentioned before, we read her quote a couple of times, but I will read it again. The press secretary denied the report and said it was false. She originally addressed her comments to CNN, but then all these other outlets reported it. So she said, fake news, CNN strikes again. This alleged assessment is flat out wrong. This is the press secretary, and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets. Total obliteration. Oh, President Trump just reposted Pete Hegseth's quote on this. So Pete Hegseth came out with a quote, which we told you about earlier. So President Trump just reposted the Pete Hegseth quote, which I will read you. The quote is, Pete Hegseth said, based on everything we have seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Our massive bombs hit exactly the right spot at each target and worked perfectly, says Secretary of Defense Hegseth. The impact of those bombs is buried under a mountain of rubble in Iran, so anyone who says the bombs were not devastating is just trying to undermine the president and the successful mission. The CNN story about this report said that analysis of damage is on, and the impact of the strikes is ongoing and could change as more intelligence becomes available. Also, CNN report said that Israeli officials believe that the nuclear program in Iran has been set back 2 years. And it also says, assuming they are able to rebuild it unimpeded, which Israel would not allow. There's that as well. Remember, as I said earlier, Israel and the U.S. could, in theory, go back in there again and launch another attack if they saw stuff that worried them, at least right now. Also, I mentioned this earlier. There were congressional briefings for Congress that were canceled today. CNN said classified briefings on this for both the House and Senate were canceled today. That were supposed to happen today. The Senate briefing has been moved to Thursday. And a Democratic congressman told the Washington Post, Mike Quigley of the House Intelligence Committee, he said that there is widespread belief in Congress that the embarrassing content of the intelligence assessment is the reason the Trump administration decided to delay the classified briefing. They don't delay briefings that have good news, he said. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's why the briefing was delayed, but that briefing was delayed for Congress today. Oh, Pete Hegseth just posted President Trump's post of the Pete Hegseth quote about how the bombing obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Just so you know. Oh. Julie Sirkin with NBC News reports that Congress has the assessment, this classified assessment. Some senators viewed it in a secure location. Leadership has seen the document, which states that the U.S. strikes against Iran did not obliterate its nuclear program, but set it back several months. So NBC News is reporting that some senators have already seen this report. Patricia Sal says, where is the supreme leader? The New York Times reported a few days ago that he is in a bunker and that it's difficult to communicate with him. He is isolated. What did they say about it? Hang on a moment here. They said that he is ensconced in a bunker and he speaks with his commanders mostly through an aide, and he doesn't use electronic communications, so he's harder to find. That's what they say. I don't know if that's true. J-Man thinks he's watching the stream. I don't know about that. Billy Cusack says the White House said earlier the briefing was moved to Thursday because Rubio and Hegseth are with Trump at NATO. I didn't see that. Maybe they did say that. If they did say that, I don't know if it's true. So thanks for mentioning it. Now that we're like a day into it, I'm going to ask people. Oh, I have an update on the Iraq thing. Do you remember last night? Where there were reports of explosions in Iraq? So there's some more information on that. Iraq says drones attacked military sites and bases, damaging radar systems. Iraq said on Tuesday several military sites and bases belonging to Iraqi security forces, these were not U.S. bases, were targeted by drones, significantly damaging 2 Army radar systems and triggering a call for the Prime Minister for an investigation. The source of the drones was not clear, but 2 security sources said the drones were small and had been flown to targeted sites from nearby locations. The 2 badly damaged Army radar systems were located at Camp Taji north of Baghdad and at Imam Ali base in Dikar province in southern Iraq. Iraqi forces successfully repelled other attacks on 4 additional sites before the drones could reach their targets. All the targeted locations were fully operated and managed by Iraqi security forces. There was some people last night thought that these were attacks on U.S. bases, but they were not. Now, Zar Bean thinks it was Iranian drones. Another possibility, maybe it's some group affiliated with Iran fired the drones. I don't know. Alan LaRosa, our viewer, thinks maybe 5 months setback before Iran starts nuclear program again. Just Ducky thinks it's nothing new in Iraq. It happens often. What I was going to ask you is if what your guys' opinion was of whether the ceasefire would hold now that we're a day in. So we're going to do a quick poll. All right, I just posted it on YouTube. How long is it? I don't believe it has. It's not closed-ended in that it doesn't say, well, it's only for a couple days, then you can fight again. I think the idea is that it's supposed to permanently hold. The war is supposed to lead to an official end to the war. Let me see what people say. So it's not like, remember in Gaza they would sometimes have ones for like a day or something, I think. But it's not like that. Adrian Milam thinks it's amazing that it's quiet tonight. I mean, just to have it be like that after so long. You never know, though. Okay, I am now going to see what you guys had to say. I asked, will the ceasefire hold? Here's what people are saying. Wow. Over on YouTube, 74% say no. Very pessimistic over on YouTube. Thanks, by the way, to, for watching Cruisin' for a Bruisin'. On Facebook, it is now 75% say no. We have a pessimistic audience. How about on Twitch? What are they saying? %74% no. Crazy, right? Basically 3/4 on all of our platforms say it's not going to hold. Really? Really? GM says realistic, not pessimistic. Yeah, I thought about this. One of the viewers said, "What do you mean by hold?" My thought was, if what if Iran launches one missile in 2 days and then nothing gets done, nothing after that, I consider that holding. Not holding is that there's significant fighting again. Timo says realism and pessimism. What is it? Realism and pessimism are not the same thing. Maya Moon Goddess says, I'll give it a few days, maybe a week max. I mean, I guess I didn't mean infinitely. So I didn't mean for 300 years. Hopefully that's understandable. The point was for a significant amount of time into the future. Cindy Espana Lopez says, I'm optimistic. All right, people are pessimistic. I have no idea. Ended up being 78% no on Facebook. Eden Jane KY says, I give it 3 days. It is odd, though, after a couple weeks to have it like this. Hey, shout out to Carol Cara, who thinks Trump should have waited for the intel report. Thank you, Cat's Rule, who says Iran will keep attacking forever until Israel finishes the Revolutionary Guard. Thanks to Billy Cusack. Thanks, Billy. Robin's Nest Autosport. Artillery 75, our new member. Relic, our new member. H&W, Sean. Mardies for the gift memberships. Also, Michigan Rowdy on Twitch. Kumish for subscribing on Twitch. Big Dog Gaming. Gripplechew. Luddington. Thank you. Our viewer, hold on a second. Prouties says, what's the point of a ceasefire if there is no desire for peace? It is kind of pointless. Some of our viewers, like Ruby Tuesday, says it will start again because of Iran's proxies. It's very interesting that they did not jump in during the fighting. I thought that was interesting. Especially Hezbollah. I mean, they're weakened. Well, actually, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. They're weakened greatly, Hezbollah and Hamas, but they didn't do anything that I remember. What is this? You can see here. I want to show you something about this. Why some key Tehran allies have stayed out of the Israel-Iran conflict. Hezbollah has long been considered Iran's first line of defense in case of war with Israel. But they stayed out of the fray, even after the U.S. entered the conflict. A network of powerful Iran-backed militias in Iraq also remained largely quiet. Domestic political concerns, says AP, domestic political concerns as well as tough losses suffered in nearly 2 years of regional conflicts and upheavals appear to have led these Iran allies to take a back seat in the latest round convulsing the region. I mean, Hezbollah was seen as the big deterrent to somebody attacking, especially to Israel attacking Iran before. for last year. Hezbollah was formed with Iranian support in the early 1980s as a guerrilla force fighting against Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon at the time. That group helped to push Israel out of Lebanon and built its arsenal over the ensuing decades, becoming a powerful regional force and the centerpiece of a cluster of Iranian-backed factions and governments known as the Axis of Resistance. It also included Iraqi Shiite militias, and the allies also include Iraqi Shiite militias, Yemen's Houthi rebels, as well as the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Also, the Assad regime was friendly with Iran, I believe, in Syria. At one point, Hezbollah was believed to have 150,000 rockets and missiles. 150,000 rockets and missiles. And the group's former leader, Hassan Nasrallah, once boasted for having 100,000 fighters. Then after October 7th, they started launching rockets across the border at Israel. That drew Israeli airstrikes and shelling, and the exchanges escalated into full-scale war last September. Israel inflicted heavy damage on Hezbollah, killing the leader Nasrallah and other top leaders, and destroyed much of its arsenal. Hezbollah has condemned Israel's attacks on the U.S. and the U.S. strikes on Iran. Lebanese government officials have pressed the group to stay out of the conflict, saying that Lebanon cannot handle another damaging war. The U.S. said it would be very bad for Hezbollah to get involved. Iraq's Kataib Hezbollah militia, a separate group from Hezbollah, had said prior to the U.S. attack that it would directly attack U.S. interests and bases spread throughout the region if Washington gets involved. But that group also remained silent since Sunday's strikes. Maybe they just didn't want to get attacked by the U.S., these groups. The Houthis also did not launch strikes. Reasons to stay on the sidelines. AP says Hezbollah was weakened by last year's fighting against Israel and also lost a major supply route for Iranian weapons with the fall of Syrian President Assad, a key ally. An expert, Andreas Krieg, says Hezbollah has been degraded on the strategic level and cut off from supply chains in Syria. Another expert said a role for Hezbollah in the Israel-Iran conflict could not be ruled out. The battle is still in its early stages, he said. He said both the Houthis and the Iraqi militias lack the strategic deep strike capability against Israel that Hezbollah once had. Another expert, Renad Mansour, said Iraq's Iran-armed militias have all along tried to avoid pulling their country into a major conflict. He said, things in Iraq are good for them right now. They're connected to the state. They're benefiting politically, economically. And they also saw what happened to Iran, Hezbollah, and they're concerned that Israel will turn on them as well. One of the earlier experts said, for now, these armed groups may be lying low because Iran likely wants these groups to stay intact and operational. But if Iran suffers insurmountable losses or the supreme leader is assassinated, those could act as triggers. It's very interesting. I mean, again, that was the strategy for Iran for years. It was, if you attack us, you're going to have to deal with all of these groups. And Hezbollah was literally sitting across the border from Israel with, it was believed, 150,000 missiles and rockets. So, you know, when the Israel's campaigns against Hamas and Hezbollah the last couple of years, that is what is believed is a big reason that this campaign against Iran was possible. Cage Dalton, our viewer, says all of Hezbollah is now in wheelchairs with their legs and arms torn off. Well, many of them got severely injured in that pager incident, or pager. Well, how do you describe it? The pager campaign. It was the pager attack that Israel set up. Storm Q Hacer says it's too quiet. Winding Road thinks these groups saw U.S.'s military planes and said no thank you. This article, I think, was written before the ceasefire, but a lot of what it says, I believe, applies. Jed Stamis, our viewer, says, really surprised Hezbollah has not gotten involved yet. They are Shia, but there are divisions within Shia. Pager detonation campaign, said Isaac Flowers-Levin. I remember when we covered that. Jack says it was a terror campaign. You mean with the pagers? Pager terror attack, said one of our viewers. Joe says Iran was severely defanged. Oh. I should read you what Netanyahu had to say. We didn't talk about that. I don't know if he released a speech in English today. Why is it when I load this speech, it goes away? Full remarks. Does anyone know if Netanyahu, he spoke in Hebrew today. I don't know if he spoke in English. There's some of the Hebrew one. Let me just show you a little of what he had to say. There's a translation that they posted. I think. I don't even know if they did. No, I can get it here. So, without reading the whole thing, this is what Netanyahu, he gave a speech today. He said this victory will stand for generations. He said we have removed the threat of annihilation by nuclear bombs and the threat of annihilation by 20,000 ballistic missiles. He said if we did not act now, the state of Israel would soon face the threat of annihilation. Talks about the opening attack. Talks about the nuclear facilities he said they destroyed. He says we have completed the task. We've hit the entire archive. He said, for decades, I have promised you that Iran will not have nuclear weapons. We have brought Iran's nuclear project to a standstill, and if anyone in Iran tries to revive this project, we will act with the same determination, with the same force to thwart any such attempt. I repeat, Iran will not have nuclear weapons. He talks about destroying their missile capacity. He said, we dealt crushing blows to the evil Iranian regime. He said, hours before the ceasefire, we dealt the Ayatollah's regime the hardest blow since the beginning of the war, eliminating hundreds of regime operatives in a crushing attack. The most crushing that Tehran has seen in the last 50 years. Thanked President Trump. Citizens of Israel, he says, on October 7th, we were in the abyss. We suffered the most terrible disaster in the history of the country, but thanks to the joint forces of the government, the security forces, and you, we were able to recover and fight back with a vengeance. He says, we are not smug, we are not complacent, we have no intention of taking our foot off the gas pedal. We must complete the campaign against the Iranian Axis, defeat Hamas, and bring about the release of all of our hostages, both living and dead. He says, with the elimination of Iran's evil axis, we will open an axis of peace and prosperity for the peoples of the region and beyond the region, peoples of the region. Above all, he says, I would like to thank you, the citizens of Israel. This is a moment of national pride, a moment of unity, a moment in which every citizen of Israel can stand tall and say, together we did the unimaginable. Anyways, you can go to his social media and read the whole speech or watch it in Hebrew. But that is what that's what he said today. Al's G says Iran is a paper tiger exposed. Take a few more comments from you guys here. I don't know when President Trump is returning from. He's in the Netherlands. Is he in? He's in The Hague right now, right? I think. Damien thinks Iran will break the ceasefire. He's at the NATO summit. In the Netherlands. Tonight after Hague, I don't know what his schedule is. I can look and see. Hey, by the way, thanks so much to Parker Clark. Parker from Texas. Thanks for your support and your kind words. Parker from Texas. I had his schedule earlier from last night. Here it says, oh yes, he's supposed to arrive at the White House oh no, Wednesday tomorrow he's going to be in the Netherlands, and then he will arrive back at the White House at 6:50 p.m. tomorrow. Thanks also to IndyCar. IndyCar, I read the latest IAEA update. Thanks, IndyCar. Yeah, I literally read this on the air. They said, before and during they have said nuclear facilities should never be attacked due to the very real risk of serious radiological accident. During these attacks, We have seen extensive damage at several nuclear sites in Iran, including its uranium conversion and enrichment facilities. Our assessment is that there has been some localized radioactive as well as chemical release inside the affected facilities that contain nuclear material, mainly uranium enriched to varying degrees, but there has been no report of increased off-site radiation levels. Based on the data available to us, the IAEA can provide assurances that there has been no radiological impact to the population and the environment in neighboring countries as well. They don't know whether there's been any radiological contamination off-site, they said. They said the IAEA has identified additional impact points at nuclear sites in Fordow and Natanz as a result of strikes carried out before today's announcements on the situation in Iran. Although I think those are the Israeli strikes. Yes, regarding the additional Israeli strikes to Fordow, after the U.S. strikes, we assessed that access roads close to the underground facility and one of its entrances were hit. And at Natanz, they assessed that there are 2 impact holes. Oh, at Natanz, there are 2 impact holes from the U.S. strikes above the underground halls that have been used for enrichment as well as storage. Based on our knowledge of what these halls contains, the IAEA assesses that this strike may have caused localized contamination and chemical hazards. I will say, if Iran is going to try to recover any of these sites and rebuild any of these sites, there's certainly, it seems like it could be, they would have to take precautions against chemical and radiological contamination at these sites that might be there. All right. Thanks, Luddington, by the way. Hey, guys, here's what we're going to do. I think what we're going to do, I'm going to do a last check and see if I have any updates for you. But if there aren't big updates right now, we might do a bit of a shorter stream. We've been streaming a lot lately, but that's because there's been a lot of updates. So I'm going to do a check here. But the idea is that we will come on and do streaming when there's, new big developments. So tonight we've been talking a bunch about this story of the alleged intelligence report that says that the U.S. and Israel may have only set the nuclear program in Iran back by a matter of months. So that's what we've been covering. But, we are on the air more when there's big developments. So, and there could be big developments later on today, too. Our viewer, Donna Smith, thinks that the DIA reporting and other reports suggest that that we have a serious problem still with the Iranian nuclear program. Thanks, Donna Smith, for writing in. PW360, our viewers, said that he had heard some analysts say not to rule out a secret Israeli operation where they go on the ground into the sites, rig them with explosives, and blow them up from the inside. I don't know if they can get in there. Can they still get into that site? I don't know. According to PW360, he claims that Fox's Trey Yingst said that there could be conversations between Israel and the U.S. on whether to go in again. Talking about that before. Thank you, PW360. There's certainly, if the U.S. and Israel are not satisfied with the amount of damage, and think that they can do more and that more is needed, they very well might go in again. From what I understand, there's not a lot of air defense there opposing them. Thanks to Sebastian Drost for watching from the Netherlands. David Mackey, our viewer, says, if Iran still has its nuclear material, would it not make more sense for Iran to concentrate on making bombs with what they have rather than go back to enriching? Well, they still would have to enrich it from 60 to 90, I believe. The nuclear material they have is close to weapons grade, but not weapons grade. So they still would have to enrich. But maybe they race and that's the thing they focus on. Just if they still have that material, maybe all they focus on is that, rather than, enriching stuff from 0 to 5 or whatever. It's an interesting point, and we don't know. It's a big question where that enriched uranium is and whether they still have access to it. Billy Cusack said that Billy Cusack sent me where is this here? That the Hill was reporting that the classified briefing for the Senate today was rescheduled to allow Rubio and Hegseth to attend. Anyways, the point is, without getting back all into this again, but there were classified briefings scheduled today for Senate and House members about the situation in Iran, and they were postponed today until later in the week. And some members of Congress think they were postponed because of this alleged Defense Intelligence Agency report that said that the nuclear program in Iran might have only been set back a few months. But perhaps it was a different reason. So the Hill had a story claiming that it was postponed in the Senate to allow Rubio and Hegseth to attend. But I don't know why it was postponed. Thank you to John Cusack for writing in about that. Josh G says maybe a different report will say something else. Yeah, there might be multiple intelligence reports saying different things. We'll have to see. I don't know what we'll hear about. I mean, I think these will probably be classified, but maybe stuff will leak out about them. All right. I think, oh, by the way, thanks to Cal Reeves for your support. I appreciate it. Who says attacking any civilian nuclear electrical desalination plants is widely considered by the international community as a big no-no. Well, I haven't seen any kind of reporting suggesting that Israel is going to attack the civilian nuclear plant in Iran, Bushehr plant. So, which could be a big environmental problem if that were attacked. But I haven't seen any intelligence they're going to attack that. By the way, I guess Senator Schumer was claiming today, I just saw, that the briefings were moved about the classified briefings about Iran being moved today. He said, "What are they afraid of?" What was it here? Yeah, so according to CNN, Schumer said today that he thought that the briefings were moved because the intelligence said that the strikes were less impactful on Iran's nuclear program than the administration initially said. Again, I cannot confirm why the briefings were moved. Thank you, Jenny Girl Jen, for your support, by the way. Also, Jonathan Sharp. Jonathan thinks the Iran conflict will become a proxy war between China and USA, like the Ukraine is a proxy war between Russia and NATO. That's what Jonathan says. Thank you for your support, Jonathan. All right, here's what I think we should do. I don't have a lot of big updates to give you right now. Certainly, I think there's going to be more news coming out of this. We have been on the air a lot lately, and so I think at this point I'm going to start wrapping up this stream. But later tonight, if there is big news on this, I will come on the air. If there's big news on other stories, I will come on the air. So we cover all kinds of news. But I think it's time for this stream. I feel like I have to eat anyway, so let's do that. I'll keep an eye out tonight for what's going on, and we will continue to do coverage. So a bit shorter of a stream tonight, but not every stream is 12 hours here on our channel. So I do appreciate people joining our update. Subscribe, follow the channel, Agenda Free TV. Make sure you turn on the notifications. I may be on soon again tonight, depending on what the news is. So we have a notification system. It will tell you whenever we go live. It's free. It's easy to sign up. It's on Discord. So the link to sign up, the mods will post in the chat to sign up for those notifications. But make sure you do that. I think that's a best way to get informed when we're going live. And you can find the link to the notifications in the YouTube and Facebook description of this broadcast as well. But I really appreciate you guys being here. And again, if there's big news, we'll come on the air at whatever time. And if there's other big news, we'll come on the air. I don't anticipate doing a stream on the mayor's Democratic primary in New York City. I don't know. I guess there's a minor chance, but I don't know that we'll be doing that. Anyways, I'll keep an eye out on stuff. Also, hold on a second here. I want to thank our moderators who are awesome, and I really appreciate them being here in these various streams we've been doing. Ruth Krafasi over there on YouTube, Janet B, Beth Mythical, thanks so much for being over there on YouTube, and all of our other YouTube moderators, Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X, and over on Twitch, people like Big Ball of Yarn, Cerrero, Good Luck Duck, I Got That Fire, Mark HNC, Matthew Kohai 3, and Papa Bear. and our Facebook moderators as well. Paul Anderson, Margaret Riley, Kayla Ribati, Ava Knight, Charlotte Webb. Thank you to all of our moderators on Facebook. Thanks also Lisa Perkins and for subscribing. I'll thank the more subscribers over there in a second. And thanks to everybody who donated. You guys have been extremely generous while we've been covering this, and you always are in general. And that is what allows the channel to exist and buy news footage and stuff. So thanks so much for your support for the channel. I owe a couple people thank yous, I think, still. I owe a thank you to 1ZP/1ZP. Yeah, we got this question before. So this question that 1ZP has is, if the U.S. gets attacked, I guess by, for example, one of Iran's proxies or Iran, does NATO have to join the war? So, so my quick answer is no, because U.S. bases in the Middle East have been attacked many times in previous years by Iranian proxy forces. Now, the question is, why wouldn't NATO have to get involved? So I believe possibly that there might be specific geographical restrictions on where the attack would have to take place to activate the automatic NATO protection. But also, I believe that there's a certain discretion on the amount of the NATO members, whether to I think they might have to agree that this was a certain type of situation that warrants NATO involvement. Also, but I guess my larger answer is that it has something to do with the specifics, the way that the NATO charter or NATO agreement is written, which I am not an expert on. So it's an interesting question, and I get where it comes from, but it's pretty clear there have been lots of attacks on U.S. forces in the Middle East by Iranian proxies in recent years, and there wasn't a big discussion of NATO involvement. So for whatever the reason, which is an interesting question, that is not some kind of automatic thing. But we discussed that on a previous stream. Maybe on a future stream we'll get into the detail. I mean, I'm not an expert on that kind of thing, but maybe we'll try to get into some details of that. But it's an interesting question. As to what the specific situations are which would activate that or make it possible, it's a good question. Not a question we're getting into right now. You get into technical questions about the nature of the agreement, the language of the agreement, and how it has been implemented and how it is understood. Thank you to 1Zip for your support. And also thank you to Knick-Knack over there on Twitch, who thinks the ceasefire will not last. That's what Knick-Knack thinks. The ceasefire will not last. These two countries have been going at each other for eons, he says. Thanks to Notorious Rob for your support on Twitch as well, and Luddington, and all of our other supporters. Really appreciate it. Thanks, AM, as well. Let's see here. I want to mention, we do have a chat where you can talk to other viewers in the chat for free. It's a free chat on Discord where you can talk to other viewers when we're not online. It's the Agenda Free TV Discord chat. Check it out. It's the same link as the notifications link if you want to check it out. And big thanks to our Discord mods as well. A lot of our viewers like doing the Discord chat and chatting with each other over there. I will post news updates. As many of you know, I post updates on my X account, which is @Lookner. When I'm not on the air, I post there. @Lookner on X. You can follow me over there for updates. When I'm off the air and when I'm on the air, I post stuff there too. @Lookner, I'll post a link in the chat. And Agenda Free TV, @Agenda Free TV. I always post there when we're going live. I post updates about the channel there. So subscribe over there at Agenda Free TV. Or follow, I guess it is, on Agenda Free TV. Also, I would suggest that you turn on the YouTube notifications. those notifications will help you know when we're live on YouTube if you're a YouTube viewer, but it's a little confusing how to turn them on. So YouTube notifications, what you need to do is you need to subscribe to the channel, then click the notifications bell, and choose all notifications. Again, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, choose all notifications. Shout out to our Facebook subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thanks for supporting the channel over there. Diane Allworth, Margaret Riley, Chuck Mosca, thank you. Kay Lowry Body, and all of our other subscribers, Robert Rial II, Sharon Klassen Goslin, Aaron Van Ness, and all of our other subscribers on Facebook. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. Our Twitch subscribers, big shout out to you, like Wall Street and Shaggy, and Golden Tarkus, Matthew Kohai 3, and normally it highlights you there in the chat. Why is that not working? I'll have to check that out. Oh, there it is. Now it's working. Stolenam 8, thanks for subscribing. Big Ball of Yarn. Eloso 1375, thanks for subscribing. Tatermong, did I thank Matthew Kohai 3? Memers, thanks for subscribing. Jcon, Bad Toastery. Golden Tarkus, Neko Jita, Vietnam, Baby Vietnam, thanks for subscribing. And all of our other subscribers over there on Twitch, thank you so much. And our YouTube members, you guys are awesome. Oh, thanks Nameless Dirt for being a member. Also, our members like Crypto King, Buffalo Women, Bunker Buster, Evelyn and Maid, Winding Road, John, Fish Ventura, Beam Me Up, Zinc Man, Robert Lockhart, Left-Handed, Eric Johnson, Wickedest Witch. I'm going to be repeating some people probably. Crypto King, Ava Light, Susanna Branch, Snarf McGrew, Left-Handed, GM2 Rob Guns, John Hendrixie, thank you for being a member. Sweetie, J.K. Sinar, Dean R., CAC 813, Hassel DeHoff, Cogito Ergo Sum, Kathy B. Thank you to all of our YouTube members and our just all of our viewers. Sarcastic PB, Douglas Dickinson, Hornet G, Karina, Simp Nasty Scrimp, D. George, and hold on a second here. Artist Caverlin, Henry Rutherford. There's no bombing going on right now, but we'll have to see what happens. I hope there isn't more. Melissa Terry, thanks for watching. Sarah Smile, Barry Eisler, thank you. All right, so I am wrapping up this stream. If there's huge developments in this, we'll definitely cover it. If there's big other stories, we'll come on and cover it, and we will see what happens. But really appreciate you tuning in for our update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon when more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.